Great to see you again, Carl.
President, CEO, and Director of Banyan Gold. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks, so I'm pretty excited with everything that's going on. And I'm heading up to the field next week, which is great. I always love that. I get to go see the drill core and the drills.
Are you taking a small plane there?
Yeah, I am, just simply because it's more efficient for this trip. But and we have some other people on the tour as well, so it makes sense to get a small plane. A lot of times I just drive though, because it's such a short drive. If it's just me, I love the driving time. Like you like driving time because it's such great thinking time. And it's a beautiful highway between Whitehorse and Mayo. So you'll have to come up and do the drive there. That'll be kind of fun. Let's do an interview, Whitehorse to Mayo.
I will take you up on that. I can guarantee. But I have to just say, so I've done I think I've done over 300 interviews now, most of them in the mining space. And the last year, your name gets mentioned more than any other executive that I interview. You're very, very well respected by your peers. I told you that in person. So my name for you is the Executor. That's your name, especially after your last news release. Just to give our audience and community a little bit more context, we were in Vancouver last week, but unfortunately, she's such a serial entrepreneur that she lost her voice because she's been doing all these conferences and got a little bit sick. So we were able to film some beautiful B-roll, which we have at the beginning of this video, but we couldn't do the interview because you lost your voice.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit squeaky or a whisper, and neither one of those would have been very good.
Yes. Well, I'm just glad that we're able to get this update from you today. But yes, I will take you up on that because I've never been to that part of the planet. So I've been into the Golden Triangle, which isn't really that far, I guess. But yeah, I love to see what it's like up there and what you guys have going on. So take us sort of through, I know you have some big news that you want to talk about. The last time we did an interview with you was in January. So why don't you kind of bring our audience up to speed from sort of end of January to today?
Great. Okay. So, January, we were talking about our field season starting. We went ahead and started that and had drills turning by the 1st of March. And we actually had 3 drills turning through March because that's a really important drill time for us when the ground's frozen. We don't have to build roads. There was that area between Oryx Hill and Powerline, which really you need to drill when it's frozen because there's lots of little creeks through there and it's wet and it's just way more efficient in the winter. As well as we wanted to go really far east. Remember, we'd done that 2 kilometer step out from Oryx Hill, and then we went another 200 meters east of that. And there again, it's very swampy or wet. So far better to drill that when it's frozen. So we did a big wide fence there, just sort of testing where mineralization was. And there's not really any soils to guide you there. That type of topography isn't really amenable to getting soils that are tremendously meaningful. So understanding both the geology and the structure really helped us there. We got the prep lab up and running about a month into the program. We wanted to make sure we had enough core to keep the people employed. You don't want people starting their season working at a quarter time and then they kind of get used to that. What do you mean? We actually have to get up to our full production capacity. So now that's humming along and we'll start to get some results back. And certainly that'll guide our program as well as get some information out to shareholders. And then, of course, the big news, which is, we put out our resource update, the 6.2 million ounces at 0.61 with the most growth between Powerline and Oryx Hill. And both of those are still open, particularly Oryx Hill, where we're drilling now. We've dropped down to 2 drills during spring freshet, and there's been a lot of rain, so it's wet. It's more efficient and a little bit less hard on the roads to do that. So we're mostly drilling right up on Oryx Hill now, following up on where we had that 84 meters of 1.14. Definitely, that's kind of where we're seeing the northern high grade trend through this resource. We're super excited by the resource itself. Right in our range. You can look at the sensitivity tables yourself and see, what the ounces would have been at different cutoffs. And, if you pick 0.5 and you were to add up them all the deposits, you have roughly over 4 million ounces at 0.95. You can look at this different ways depending on what grade. If you use the exact same parameters as our previous resource, you notice we increased our cutoff grade to 0.25 from 0.2, remained the same 0.3 at Oryx Hill. If you went to the sensitivity tables, it would have been 6.5 million ounces. So those are just ranges. Those aren't the resource. The resource we chose was 6.2 million ounces at 0.61, because I think it shows the resource growth as well, over 50% from our last resource, but also shows the overall average grade is above 0.6, which I think is an important level given what we've seen at Victoria Gold. But the real thing is, this is a snapshot. This is an inferred resource. At that point in time, we've already added ounces with what we've drilled, and we know that there's more there. So what are we doing now, and how much are we going to grow this? Well, we know there's more ounces there. So right now we're still growing, but the work that we're doing internally is really modeling where the higher grade sections are, starting to put an engineering eye on it, not just a geology eye, about where you would find higher grade starter pits. Now that we have the resource, we can actually do that more meaningfully. And that'll guide what our future phases of drilling will be. And, it takes a bit of time. It's not instant, and talking through alternatives. The other real important key piece of work is the metallurgical program that we're doing. And, we've shipped tons of samples now down to make sure that we truly have a representative database of samples that we're going to get out of the program that we have running now. And a very robust program, looking at everything we need to know, if this is a heap leach, everything to know if this is a mill and a CIL. We know it's not refractory, so we're looking at those two end members because, the differences in recovery, people will want to look at this as how they want to build it. Different companies will look at different economics and have their own ideas on how to build this type of a project. So we want to make sure that we've got the metallurgical answers so that when people run their economic models, and we'll run our own economic models, that they know what they can see in it, what they need.
When it comes, you just covered a lot. Over the next 3 months, so let's say the summer, what would you say is the highest priority?
Well, all these things are going to go concurrently, and they do. There's a lot of priorities, keeping our drills turning, making sure they're efficient, our safety in the field. That's one priority from an operational perspective. Make sure we're getting good drilling in areas that are meaningful and adding value for shareholders. Doing some community work, making sure that we're present in the community and communicating what we're doing. Doing the technical and engineering work. Understanding how this might look as a mining project, not only where you might mine, but where the infrastructure goes, spending time in the field, doing some geotechnical work to understand pit slope angles, and then the metallurgical work, that's also key. So I wouldn't say there's any key, that's just operational, and then communicating with shareholders to make sure that people understand the value proposition of Banyan. We're valued at less than $10 per ounce. Most of our peers are 33, on average. So I think that we have tremendous opportunity to add shareholder value. Talking to my big shareholders after putting out that resource, which wasn't so possible with no voice, it was a little bit difficult last week. I wanted to call all kinds of people. It's like, oh, that's really not very convenient.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what kind of feedback have you been getting from your shareholder base after putting out that news? But
very, very positive from the people that I've heard. Heard from. But again, I'm continuing to follow up with our shareholders. That's a continual thing. Make sure that you're talking to them.
So I'm just going to give the audience a little bit of insight as to my experience with you last week. It's just a one-on-one, Tara and I are talking personally. And what I got from you, which is fascinating, I love it, was that you're not happy. It's like, wow, she's hard to please. No. But no, I was like excited for you, right? I'm like, that's a great big news release. It's a catalyst for the company, something you have in your back pocket. Okay. But you're just like, but we're not finished. We're not, you're not happy. And you're like, we're evaluating on things right now and on how to grow this to the next level. And you're such a dedicated individual. I love it. So can you kind of give the audience a little bit of insight into that conversation we were having? And just, I know you've touched on this a little bit, but, what else can you give us?
Well, you don't rest on your laurels. Yes, you get to one milestone, but then you've got to determine what the next milestone is that's really gonna start to get you the attention that I think this project and Banyan deserves. And so, yeah, I'm pretty driven, very focused on what we need to do to get there. And, every step, you think about I spend a lot of time making sure that we're thinking about our strategy, thinking about how we're spending our money, planning ahead. That's just, my nature. I like to make sure that we got a clear goal, making sure the team knows where we're going and everybody's going in the same direction. That's all just how you run a good company, because we're a small company. You look at how many people we have versus many of our competitors. Our head office is pretty lean. You met Jasmine and Valerie, and the only other office person we have is our CFO, David. And then we got, James Tom in the field, who's doing a great job. He's actually heading up to site today, and I'll meet him up there next week and get to tour around and meet our field crew. So it's a pretty lean and mean team, but we get an awful lot done because we're very focused. We set our goals, we make sure that we're communicating well, and then we go and execute, as you say.
That's right. When it comes to the till, how much capital do you guys have to work with right now?
So we started this year with 19 million. We have about 14 and a half with all our bills cleared today. That's a pretty healthy treasury for us. Gives us a lot of runway to add a lot of value. So our burn rate's pretty low on the G&A side. So most of that goes in the ground, and you'll see that from our track record.
So let's leave it off with two things. I know you're not a macro economist or anything, but there were some good presentations there at Metals Investor Forum. Shout out to them. I watched Jordan's presentation. How do you feel about the price of gold from where we are now? And then I'm going to end it off with our promo for our Twitter Spaces.
The price of gold is pretty darn good. If you're a producer, you are very happy. There seems to be a bit of a psychological at this 2000, but look, we were almost up $20 today. We're touching that 2000 again. So I think it's not necessarily the price of gold that's the problem, because the cash flow from major companies that are mining on gold is pretty, it's going to give them some serious buying power at this gold price. So I think that means it bodes well for M&A. The retail market and the broader market, because of inflation fears in the US and everything else, really hasn't caught on to gold or the value in a lot of the juniors right now. Like I left the Metals Investor Forum with a bunch of things I wanted to buy, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like the value in these junior stocks right now, and the leverage compared to buying your blue chip stocks, which, you appreciate value or you get dividends. But, and of course, people have to invest on their own risk tolerances. I tend to have a fairly high risk tolerance because I do my research in the companies and invest in people and projects that I believe in long term. And that's done very well for me. So I think that we are going to see gold. It might not be till the fall. People pay attention to gold stocks, probably starting with the producers and then to the mid-tiers and then eventually the juniors. But, Yukon's got a lot of excitement. We've had some new discoveries, in the Mayo district in particular with Snowline. Everyone knows they're generating a lot of attention with what they're doing. We're the same age and style of mineralization. We just haven't found our intrusion yet. Do we have the potential for some higher grade? Yep. But we have a real resource of 6.2 million ounces with a road, power, cell phone service, green power at that. That's a huge asset. With over 6 million ounces, I think that will get more attention. So
absolutely,
all we need are a couple of good holes from us and or the district. Victoria Gold's already drilling on Raven, and the Yukon's going to be pretty exciting this year, I think, and people want to come and see the project.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic place to be working in right now, and there's a lot of eyeballs on there. So let's leave it here. So we're going to be doing a Twitter Spaces over the next week to 2 weeks. And if anyone who is watching this and doesn't know the full story on Banyan and Terra, we're going to kind of recap where we started off and how the company started off, and do more of a broader overview of the company, which will be hosted on our Twitter handle, of course, with you. So I think we're going to do it next Thursday. I'm pretty sure we're locked in there. But if anything changes, we'll let you know. Thank you very much for the update today, and I look forward to our Twitter space next week. Is there anything you'd like to say from here?
No, just thanks, Carl. Look forward to taking you for a drive on the project. I think that would be a really good interview, and thanks for all our shareholders that got us this far. It's a pretty exciting story, and we've got lots more to come.
Absolutely, yes. That would be amazing to go out there and see what you're actually working on. Okay, so we'll talk next week. Glad you got your voice, and enjoy the rest of the week. I'm sure you'll be working your butt off.
Yeah, I like it though. It's not work when you love what you do.
And I can tell you do. Oh, and how's the puppy, by the way?
Sleeping, adorable, pretty much house trained. Hey,
Nice.
that's pretty good. Sleeps through the night. Woke up once and cried, but that's pretty good, man. It's
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. So
No, you're doing well with the puppy then.
yeah, hasn't got all his teeth yet, so I think the chewing on everything is just about to start. So
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't go as bad as it does for some people, but I'm a dog lover, so that when I saw the pictures of your dog, I was like, oh, he's so cute and hypoallergenic, right?
yeah,
Love it.
hopefully
Awesome.
small enough to travel everywhere with us. Because anyway, you'll see the adventure stories of Oliver, our pup, fairly soon because he goes on his first plane in less than a month. So yeah.